Hey everybody, how you guys doing? Yeah, just in time. Late pickle. What? No, I started it at 12:30. No, maybe it was like 12:30 and 45 seconds, but it's fine. Anyway, good morning everybody. How you guys doing? Exhausted? Yeah, I am. I was out yesterday from 8 a.m. till 2 in the morning looking at houses and apartments. I'm not even kidding. I actually had a realtor meet me at like 1:25 a.m. Did you hear the news about Kenny G and perjury? I mean, I know he perjured himself back in January, right? No, I still haven't found a place. I've applied for a couple though. Ben Frank, thank you so much for becoming a Lime Johnson. I wasn't out in Philly after 10. Yeah, I found a couple places that are nice. I'm thinking, I don't know, I'm kind of like, I like living in New York City because there's shit here, but the uh like short-term capital gains tax on on city residents is astronomical. So, I mean, I would save my rent every year in taxes if I just lived not in the city, but I don't know. I'm still working on the fundamentals of that move. I mean, it's just a house for now, right? Like after my last, I'll just buy property somewhere. But I need a place with like a bigger area to stream in first of all, because this is I can't do this shit anymore. It's like I've got the mold farm literally right here, and then a fucking wall, and there's like I have like 7 inches on either side of my shoulders to move around, and then I've got to figure out how to like light this. It's bullshit. Is that a pick from Monday's stream? I'll change Maria's heads. They won't take it down. Awesome. Yeah, it is. I was gonna use it for Monday's stream, Agent. Another person on the street I live on is losing their house. That sucks. Moonwind's gonna lose all his shares when GameStop just randomly rips one day. Because New York City's real estate market doesn't sleep. C Santos. Real estate agents will meet you any hour of the fucking day to get their fee and sign a contract. Talk about OCC 007. So I haven't read it yet. Not extensively, but it looks like a way for them to collateralize debt into like long-term loans. So instead of MOAS, it looks very much like preparation for MOAS, but it also looks like instead of MOAS crashing and destroying the markets, they'll pack all of that into loans, which they'll then sell the debt for. So yeah, I mean, eventually MOAS will get shifted back onto the taxpayer, probably in about 10 years or so. But I mean, that's what it looks like. I've talked about that in the past, and now they're making it a rule, which kind of just affirms my suspicions of how they would handle such a massive loss. Otherwise, it would just rip the market to shreds and maybe even have further reaching consequences than that. And I'm sure if they're this defaulted on GameStop, they're this defaulted all over the place, right? So it's just more debt for future generations to carry, which is bullshit, but our BBBY earnings are Thursday. Do you think it's an interesting play for a straddle? BBBY, I haven't really looked into their short interest lately. It may just be a good play for a long or a short. That's actually a good question. How'd they perform on their last earnings? You can take a look. They absolutely ripped. Oh no, that's Best Buy. BBBY. Sorry. Also ripped. Into earnings. You might want to think about like long into earnings. IV's real low. So like a long play into earnings and then a straddle across it. The problem is I think the short interest on this is still high enough that you'll see shorts bail going into earnings, right? And then you might see some action after, but it'll probably dip again. Maybe not as excessively as it did last time, but the problem with a straddle on a high volatility earnings like this is you're gonna get eaten alive by IV. The IV is gonna like spike, especially if shorts cover into earnings. You're gonna get a massive IV spike, and then you're gonna get crushed moving into the straddle. And so, kind of like what happened to me with the puts on GameStop, how I should have been up a shitload, right? Because I had like 200 puts and they tanked down to like 180, right? So I should have had that like $20 in intrinsic value. But I ended up with like 10 because of the IV crash. Because I paid so much more for the options going in. If you bought the straddle now though, well, it's cheap. You probably have a better shot of straddling it. How's their IV? Still pretty fucking high already. And what date is it on? BBY. I mean, the IV's already kind of spiked, so you may just want to like pick a direction into earnings and then not play the post earnings, unless you're already long BBBY. So I straddled the GameStop earnings to protect the rest of my position, right? It would be a shame if there were viewers of your stream that literally design these sort of spaces of which you speak. Tell me more. I'm not moving to Philly, Florida, or Staten Island VWAP down cycle. How dare you? The problem with the court documents that everyone's like bringing up this weekend is these are allegations from the counterparty, right? These are not ruled on. The U.S. legal system, I mean, while becoming more and more court of public opinion, is not, right. And so, you know, there's a case on the other side of that. There's discovery on the other side. I'm sure they will have a defense, and probably a strong one. So maybe wait until all the information is available before making any judgments about, implied wrongdoing. Because that's all it is right now, is just allegations. No court has ruled on it. Nobody has found them guilty of perjury. So right now it means nothing. What's up, Corn Trader? And it's nothing we didn't know already, right? Like, we already knew fucking Vlad lied when they did the next House Financial Services Committee hearing with the head of the DTCC, and Vlad had said that he was getting margin called, and then the head of the DTCC said, no, nobody got margin called at all. I mean, that was enough proof, right? You already had conflicting statements in the House Financial Services Committee interviews. He's moving to Seattle? No, probably not. I thought there were emails obtained from subpoenas. I don't know about that. Do you think these allegations are so drastic that Moonwind's puts on Robinhood can work? Maybe. Definitely enough interest in the allegations, right? That's something that you have a problem with like court cases and stocks, is, generally any involvement in a legal dispute for a stock will have a negative impact on it. But also at the same time, there's not a lot of exposure to those, legal difficulties, and so sometimes the market just doesn't realize it's going on. With this, I think it will. So yeah, I mean, there's a bear case for Robinhood regarding this, but isn't this the same fucking nut job who's been filing like all kinds of cases in Florida the whole time? The dude just files like shitloads of frivolous lawsuits and they never go anywhere. But there's people who do that, right, just to get settlements. Yeah, it'll take years to fully litigate it, and it'll probably settle with no admission of fault. They never admit fault, right? Because then they'll get their license pulled. I mean, given that Kenny didn't say anything in that meeting or the House Financial Services Committee meeting that wasn't directed to him from a lawyer, I'm sure he's got his ass covered. Doesn't 007 go into effect in November? Do you think it'll get dragged out until it passes? We'll see. Currently, the manipulation we see on the stock is not via government entities, right? It's via the hedge funds that are involved. We would notice other involvement, right? As we've, kind of figured out the patterns by which the hedge funds move the stock around. A deviation from that would indicate that there was some other involvement. PN cover PN. What do you mean by PN, board gamer? Covered calls, do you have a standard discipline, for example, cash out after making 10% or something like that, or do you let them expire worthless? I don't know what you mean by PN, board gamer. How about the latest movements in China's market? What did China do? Well, no, China China's impact was already realized on Friday, right? So, let me see. China's up as of Friday. Oh, Shenzhen's now. When did this trade? Hold on. Let me double check something. Okay, so Paso's coming down again. TMC is down. Okay, hold on. I guess we'll see how they open tonight at 9 and see if they recover. All right, we can see a further correction. In covered calls, do you have a standard discipline? I don't really sell too many covered calls. I only sell them on my like long positions, and I usually sell like leaps, like far out leaps. Yeah, whatever amount of money they gain over that time, it's not really like something I think about very often. If they get assigned at my price point where I'm willing to sell anyway, then awesome. But yeah, you can stick to a pretty strict discipline on them. Everything should be risk adverse, right? That way you continue to make money and not lose it. I mean, if you're playing like covered calls on like high volatility stocks, just make sure that the strike you're selling them at is a strike you're willing to sell the underlying at. Assuming the infrastructure bill passes Congress, how long do you think that 1 trillion, I think it's 3.5 trillion total, Big Dilly style, but it could, I mean, the amount of revenue and stuff it means for involved parties could, multiply that fivefold, right? And so um I think it'll be, I think it could prop up the market for a while, honestly. As much as, the stimulus packages have propped up the market, if not more, because this one's far more like, business focused. As it stands right now, they are on the hook for alleging that. Yeah. Can you go over the 10 million volume on Monday and implications either way it can play out, please? I mean, in order to continue suppressing the price of the stock, they need about 10 million volume tomorrow, essentially. It's pretty simple. If you check out the T plus 69 DD, it's explained there. It's not really like my pet project. It's, Dr. Gingerballs, but I mean, he's not wrong. It's not implying that. It's just he's a little better informed as the current status of it than I am. But yeah, essentially they need 10 million volume tomorrow in order to continue to feed FTDs into the pipeline. Did you hear about the 300 empty container ships outside Shenzhen docks? 100 full container ships are waiting to berth to unload in the U.S. Supply chain grinding to a halt. Yep. Which will spike inflation. That's why I have, like, my puts on the, like 20-year treasuries, because if they start spiking interest rates, those are going to tank. Like, hard. And the puts are cheap, so. Has Frag been located? No. I don't know what happened to Frag. Super Frag. Interesting. What surprised you most about the things you've discovered during this whole saga? Is there a particular short hedge fund technique that you've thought is brilliant? I mean, if I'm right about futures, that's pretty smart. But not unusual, I guess. I mean, I think they could have made more brilliant plays if what had happened in January didn't happen so unexpectedly for them. I don't think they were prepared at that point for like the market action that occurred, and so I don't think they were prepared for retail FOMO either. But the way they shut January down is particularly impressive. That took some effort. It was no small feat to move around, even for Citadel and Point 72 to move around that kind of money to save Robinhood and Melvin is impressive in its own right. Does the cover call counterparty always exercise? I thought it was rare to get exercised, as most just want the leverage versus having enough to exercise. Not talking about GMA. For covered calls, I mean, yeah, you'll probably get us assigned. If you go significantly over the strike. It doesn't work the same way as like selling a long call. Basic Greek. So many formulas, and it's kind of overwhelming. Do you use? I don't really use that many of the. I don't do too much formulaic investing. I mean, I'm a trader, right? So like, I'm not analyzing the positions that much because I don't have that much time to get in and out of them. I will use them, but rarely. There's calculators you can use too that make all that a lot easier, Vince. Bullshit bears this week on Jimmy, given how the price suppression has gone so far. I mean, I'm bullish on Monday and Tuesday. After that, not so much. Um, just out of curiosity for the T plus 69. But you know, that 10 million volume could just be the market tanking, right? Like the market could tank, we could see the 10 million volume, and GME just goes down. Like 10 million volume does not necessarily imply we go up. Um, but that is something I was looking at here. You guys can see as I was checking out like the BBKC, and it looks like it threw another weird false signal again. Kind of similar to the one we had back here. In what was that? It was earlier August, like August 12th, 13th, right around there. The BBKC through a squeeze indicator in this zone, but it popped here. This is just looking confusing. It popped here, but it was a false signal, so it didn't actually pop until here. And I think we're seeing that again because our TTM indicator is like pretty stacked, but it looks like our movement's going to be to the downside. So we may just see the stock drop tomorrow a little bit, like maybe down into that like lower resistance, which would be like down here, or even as low as like 180 is possible. So we only have 2 million volume Monday. What would that imply? It would imply that a shitload of FTDs got kicked and that they're going to come due, essentially. It means they didn't cover. They didn't have enough volume to hide them, so then they have to cover them. Which I believe gives them T+2. It's a Wednesday. I have to weigh in on JFresh with what happens if they default on that. I don't think they will, but how likely do you think our shares are still being used, even though they're on cash accounts and they claim they don't lend them? It's not the lending of them that's the issue. It's the availability, right? So when they go to affect that borrow, they're not actually like necessarily borrowing the shares, right? They're just showing that they have a locate. So the availability of the shares registered in street name satisfies the locate requirement. And so by DRSing those shares, they're no longer showing availability of being registered, right? And then they have to look further for locates. And then if they can't locate, then they have to buy from the from the OW. And then, you know, that's a compounding cycle in and of itself. Did you see the post about the Reddit marketing firm hiring people with established Reddit accounts to create threads and comment their content for tomorrow, ending at 10/7, NDA required? No, I didn't. You want to DM that to me, a user? Was that on Superstock or something? Are they trying to get users to like post advertisements? It seems. I mean, eventually they're going to try to monetize Reddit, right? In some way. Someone on Houston stream suggested they were going to buy a bunch of 2022, 23 leaps on GME calls instead of shares. Pros or cons on that? Thoughts in general? Represents a larger ownership of the float, but I mean, if nothing happens between now and then, the problem with that, right, is like if we start to move, here's the real issue. If we start to move and we hit like 350 again and fail, right, and come back down for another cycle, if you don't sell here, then those leaps are going to just devalue, right, until there's another move. And so like you're highly incentivized when carrying those to sell at peaks when their value is up, instead of like you don't want to buy and hold options, right? And so if we start, and then like, what if we don't dip as much, right? Like, what if we spike like 350, and then you sell a bunch of them, and then you're like, okay, I'll wait for it to come back down and buy at low IV, but then it just spikes back up again, right? And then you're kind of out of that position. Like carrying that position through like a big run up is hard to do. Like, I mean, I guess you could, but you have to be satisfied that in 2 years' time, your ownership of the company could just expire. And I'd imagine they're buying them super far out of the money, right? Um, yeah. I mean, that's the risk. The benefit is you can get more shares for less money if if and when MOAS occurs, right? Oh, no, big Dillionaire, because there's even facets of it that I don't fully understand yet. So I don't want to weigh in on the exact method that they're using. We just know that from the data that's available to us right now that is likely the method they're using. I mean, there's still a possibility at this point that there's something that has been overlooked. I don't think there is, but to try to figure out the actual mechanisms, not only to explain them would take days, but to we're still working on figuring out exactly the underlying mechanisms, right? Because a lot of that data isn't even available to us, and if they're internalized, none of that data is available to us. That means that they didn't cover their FTDs, which would, I mean, should theoretically create a margin call, right? If they fail on, they just need 10 million volume to continue to stuff them back into that like CNS OW loop. So they'll have to cover essentially. But how much? I don't know. I don't really know if T plus 69 figures that out. I just think it figures out the points at which they fail. We could see um, if they failed the futures rule and they fail this T plus 69, that could actually, because I don't have the data from back in January, but that could be actually what put us on the threshold security list back then. And that would, in turn create more fails and more fails and more fails. So he bounced and trade sideways. Do you think that would coincide with the T plus 35 futures response? Yeah, I think like since we didn't see a lot of movement in that T plus 3 window, I think there's a little room for us to move to the upside. Maybe to like 200 or 210, like in this zone here. I think super interesting. I missed interesting the first bit. Probably, but you can watch it later. No, it's not to cover 10 million FTDs. It's they need 10 million volume to hide the FTDs. Everyone who's got questions on that, go back and read the T plus 69 DD. I feel like he breaks it down as easily as you can. I think he was, obviously trying to avoid giving specific dates as it's a moving target, and so you can't. Housing, energy, banking, jobs, infrastructure. It's all about to come down. Sounds like someone else I know. Yeah. I don't know what the second half of that comment means, Curtis, but it's not looking good. Um, Baba might actually be a good short on that front, and that it has exposure to both markets, the US and China. He's still apply to that Reddit account, Delia, or he's just gonna make money if if he doesn't, if they don't ask him to whistleblow. Isn't Reddit looking at going public soon anyway? I mean, I feel like it's just kind of expected. Did you ever talk with one of the Dans last week that was meeting with a European hedge fund manager? I think you wanted to ask about GME's liquidity issues in the euro market. Just curious. No, I never heard back. You paper traded and backtested for years before using your own capital, but what sort of factors ultimately had you settle on your style of trades instead of the other countless ways? Um, I made more money doing it. I mean, my P&L was greater on the methods I settled on. My P&L was greater, although some new methods that I've been exploring lately, KO, have slightly better P&L. It looks like, but I don't have enough data yet on that. But it's something I'm looking into. I think you always have to be able to adapt your trading style to market conditions. Um, and market conditions in the last year have changed a lot, right? Uh, but yeah, ultimately, just more money, better P&L and back testing, strictly testing exact trading styles that I had, honed and chosen, and then I tested them all, and I found that the one that I currently use was the most successful. The hard part of that is actually defining the style that you're choosing to, like, the way in which you are choosing to trade and how you go about it. And then obviously honing that over time and adjusting it for market conditions. Shouldn't the bar rate of GME increase more as direct shares are registered? I think the bar rate of GME will increase more as fails come in. Best case scenario for Monday, super low volume. I mean, for long term, yeah. How much does the Blackrock sale affect us? I mean, minimally. It's only 4 million shares, right? And we don't know who they were sold to, right? There's no, like, it doesn't mean they were sold directly to a short hedge fund. They still have to compete in the market to get those shares. What's that about? Long-term capital gains tax, the Dragify. So if you're holding stock in a company for more than a year, it's then considered a long-term capital gains as opposed to short-term, and it's taxed at a lower rate, significantly lower rate, depending on where you live. It can be quite substantial. Do you think there's a shift in narrative? Yeah. I mean, anytime there's illegal behavior, mainstream media is going to get behind, you know, they're not going to back the participants, right? They don't want to, they're not going to be like, oh, they're innocent, because that would just turn sentiment against them. But yeah, it helps push media towards our side of the fence. But we've been seeing that shift starting to occur for the last couple weeks anyway. Yeah, Thinkorswim allows you to do that, Protege son. I made it. My Pigeon Well membership renewed today. Thank you so much, Rumpel. I appreciate that, guys. For all of you guys that go the extra step and become pigeon whales, it's super awesome. It's actually a huge help to the channel. Um, not that everyone else isn't, but I really thank you, because I know it's just absurd, and like the only reason for it is to support the channel because you don't get anything extra, right? But it means a lot. All of you guys that become members, it means a lot, but that extra step is ridiculous, and I just want to thank you guys for it. I know why you guys become pigeon whales. It's dirty and kind of cringy, but it's not something I'm gonna stop. Have you had any thoughts on whether it's the switch to cats being the cause of so much volatility? Feels like a squeeze every week. It could be. Cats digs into a lot more data, so there's a chance that that's the case. So Baba has Alipay underneath its umbrella. China's breaking off Alipay as we speak. Regardless of Evergrande, Baba's looking to take a huge hit. Well, I think Baba's going to take a hit from the Chinese markets. I think they're going to take a hit from Alipay. I think they're going to take a hit from their exposure to the U.S. markets in the U.S. in regards to the U.S. markets response to the drop in the Chinese markets. So yeah, I think Baba's kind of like going to be like a double whammy. Did Kirk just shed a single tear? Wow. Pigeon whales get to have liver cirrhosis too. They do like to chug booze. On your exit DD, is it fair to ignore the first triangle, or could it completely break down after that? I wouldn't ignore any opportunities. I mean, you should still have, a plan for each one, right? Because and the reason for that is because you don't know. I don't know. You don't know. There's no way to plan. Or it could be just one. It could be 50 different points like that. I suspect it will be far more than one because of the float and the short interest. But I wouldn't ignore any opportunity, right? What if there's only three or five? And by missing out on that first one, you could miss out on a significant, if not a significantly important exit, you can miss out on the flow of exits between that one and the last one, right? Um, by not capitalizing on it, or at least attempting to with like a stop limit or something like that. Um, for all you know, that may be the highest peak, right? It may peak out at that initial one and then drop, and the rest of the peaks are down here. Like there's just no way to tell, and so yeah, I wouldn't skip any opportunities. It also allows you to determine which direction over the peaks the stock is moving. Like we talked about how it's going to kind of arc, right? And um but it may not, and that first wedge that forms is going to really uh define the following movement. Did I miss out on the ICC? Yeah, I talked about it. The OCC. Like, why do I think it works? Like, you're asking more of like my sentiment as to why I chose it, as opposed to like the data. KO. I mean, I prefer it. It works better for me. That doesn't mean it would work better for someone else, right? And that's why I don't like sell a trading system, because I think that's bullshit. I think if you have a trading system that works, it probably just works for you, because I've had so much exposure to like other traders, and I've tried their systems, and it doesn't work for me at all. Like I know a guy who trades the SPY, and he only trades VWAP on the SPY, right? The guy makes, a couple $100,000 a year, and he's in and out on pretty much every crossover throughout the whole year, works 5 days a week. And he doesn't make a lot, but that's his style. And I've tried it. I can't do it, right? And it's definitely steady income, and it works for him. And he has a inherent sense of how the market will move after all this time doing it. He's been doing it for 20 years almost. And I mean, but that, like, that works for him. It doesn't make sense even in the data. Like, that shouldn't he should have at best, like 47% upside to that play. But he beats the market by like 27 or 28% a year, with really low risk exposure. And so, I mean, yeah, I guess there's like a personal attachment to your own trading style as you develop it. And so, yeah, I guess that's your edge, right? Would be the way that it would be defined in a book. Yeah, stay tuned. It means nothing for right now, though. That'd be crazy now. I still don't see any potential in an NFT dividend. Maybe a crypto one. They still have to make that dividend available to anybody short on the stock, right? And not necessarily everyone short on the stock is like these long-term naked short positions, Muhammad. And so, they if they did do something like that, they would definitely see lawsuits from people that, aren't part of those positions, that would get really fucked over by uh an NFT dividend, because it would hurt all the shorts unilaterally. And the thing they're doing in the market is not illegal, right? So you're punishing, and I mean, like, the naked shorting is, but shorting in general is not. It's tricky, especially on legal grounds. You should really look into the overstock stuff. There's a lot more to it than just what Reddit posts. Is there a way to confirm or forecasting any ETF rebalancing for GME? Last quarter, I felt like there were one or two that just snuck in and had an impact. There was the MSCI one, but I don't know. That one kind of came out of nowhere, but it was super small. Um, I don't think there's any in the near term that we're going to see, though. We'll see, the standard rebalancing at the end of the quarter. GameStop's up, so some shares probably need to be bought. Blackrock will probably have to buy some more. The Russell 2000 doesn't have as much, or Russell 1000 doesn't have as much ETF exposure as the 2000 did, so it'll probably be mostly insignificant. If there's only three, then the peaks are like 10,000, 98, 403, 4. I mean, it could be. We just have no idea how long it'll take them to cover it. We don't know how fast people are going to sell, and so the idea is that you don't want to lose any opportunity there, because you do need to, like, you will need to adjust, like, your exits, right? If you think it's slipping too fast, like, if you don't think it's following like the arc you planned, and it's like it's either going like this, you can make it more conservative, which means reducing. That would mean that you're reducing the percentage you sell at each window. Or, it goes like this, and then you want to make it more aggressive, which would be increasing. I kind of covered that in that spurt exit video that we did, where like spurt started to slip a little faster, and so I increased the percentage of my exits as it started to drop. You look like you lost weight since Friday. I don't know, maybe. I didn't eat much. Other than a cookbook. I don't know. There's a channel for that now in Dillionaires. Looking into wheeling a steady, stable income. Any risks? Yeah, there's a risk. It's not a foolproof system. Say you're selling your cash secured puts, right? And you have a stock that's trading at like 150, and you're selling CSPs at like 145, and the stock dips and you get assigned, right? If the stock keeps dipping, your covered calls are going to become worthless, right? And so you can get stuck kind of bag holding these assigned shares for a pretty long period of time. And that's the primary risk. There's stocks, picking the stocks that you're wheeling is a very important aspect of it. And generally, the safer, the less profit, right? The best way to shake the shorts? I don't think GameStop. I already think GameStop is doing the best thing to shake the shorts, which is build the company. That's how you beat the shorts long term, right? Is you just make the company something that nobody wants to short. Or at least not hold a short position on, right? You create intrinsic value in the company, that denies the short position. And that's what they're doing. They're turning the company around, they're building it up. It takes time, but that's the right way to do it. It may not be the way that we like, but it's the correct thing to do. Not really. I'm gonna take a few years off of doing anything. I'll tell you that much, Cord Trader. Probably Iron Archer, but you can always watch the VOD. It'll be on the community channel, or you can use the Discord link afterwards. I'm gonna start mirroring the hamster. You can do that. That's just kind of like a gambler's fallacy, though. No, Overstock has had hundreds of lawsuits pertaining to that. Muhammad, they won one, but there are a lot of other lawsuits. No, not hundreds, but tens of lawsuits. I mean, you can also play bear markets, a user. It's just harder, but there's more money to be made. So traditionally, short positions are more profitable, but they're also harder to time. Bear trap, false triangles, long pauses, or is it just time limited? It's just up to the peaks. It is time limited, cat duck. I don't buy into the whole false start shit. I think we'll have a FOMO phase where the price is high and super volatile, and then I think that'll lead to forced liquidation phase, where the stock just goes up. I don't think you're after forced liquidation starts occurring. I don't think you're going to see a lot of volatility besides upward movement. Maybe a little after a halt or something like that, but nothing significant. And if you're using stop limits, you're already protecting yourself from like downside risk. Postmaster, do you have any tips on finding a good private chef? No. Interview him, I guess. Try to learn more about market movement, about how or why head and shoulders happen. I feel like I see them quite a bit, and I don't see why they reoccur so much. I mean, you're probably looking for them too much. Um, Everyone gets caught in that when they start doing TA, is that they'll start seeing the indicators everywhere. But a head and shoulders is really like formed between a few resistance points, right? Like to be definitive, you have a low and a high and then like a peak up here, right? And this implies that, buy pressure was high enough to test this resistance, but not high enough to push through it. Buy pressure picked up here. But, sentiment won out again. And then this is kind of just like a bounce before it fails. But without really having those defined resistances, like when they kind of form like that, and then you kind of get like that kind of that's really not a head and shoulders, right? That's like an uptrend that broke down. And so really you need to practice like defining, like making sure that the head and shoulders you think you see in the chart is in fact a head and shoulders. Did you see a surge of buy volume pick up on the peak? Like that's a really good indicator that you're looking at a head and shoulders. Like I know people call shit out on stream a lot and like different technical indicators, but usually GameStop doesn't have enough volume to confirm any trend intraday. And that's why we have to resort to like these really long-term trends on GameStop to really get any kind of accurate technical analysis, because we need that volume to really show the way market sentiment's affecting the stock. And really that last shoulder is kind of just like no one wants to buy at that peak price anymore, and so then it gets defeated, and that causes a sell as it drops below the point where the other two peaks formed and people bought. And then you see stock selling, and that's why it reverts generally back to like that kind of mean average for the day on the low side. How deep do you think institutions have their hand in that cookie jar? I mean, pretty deep, right? It's a decent way of hiding money. Cool, daddy. And then you also have China working on just banning crypto, essentially, and mining. And that's definitely going to have a negative effect, because a lot of affluent Chinese investors and firms, funds, companies keep their money in crypto in order to keep it away from the CCP, right? And they're shutting that down in order to push that liquidity back into their markets to protect them, which is really smart. But I don't think crypto is quite done with its dump yet, and so a lot of institutions. During most, do you expect much movement? Yeah, absolutely. There'll be a lot of movement in pre and aftermarket, Natty. But in the U.S., most brokerages allow you to trade those. If you're not in the U.S., there's nothing you can do about it. You just make the determination at the end of the trading session if you're holding that position overnight or not, and you have to understand the risk involved with that. But I don't think the movement will be that drastic, as the liquidity is still low in aftermarket, right? It's definitely not going to be able to move as much as it can intraday. You see the short squeeze from 2014 where stock went to 65 million, 49% SI. I can't remember the name. It was something like Kaloibos or something. Yeah, I think I've seen it. Heston isn't that busy. Who tends to the fine Italian black mold while you're out gallivanting looking at new homes? No, not a lot of luck, but I put an application on a couple of places that seemed sufficient for the meantime. I just want to get it wrapped up so I can move on and do other things. I'm also trying to figure out like a balance between Reddit and YouTube, and that's getting harder and harder to maintain. So I don't know what I'm doing with that either. But I imagine that's something I'm gonna have to figure out after I move. See you later, board gamer. Just gonna casually flex on everyone that already used this. How does that thing work? I don't even understand how that works. What's up, Melly Duck? I think it might have been the pharma dude. I can never pronounce his last name. Shkreli? Something like that. How serious is the change of the liquidation rule that will stop any immediate liquidation? The DCC members can take their time fixing their situation with short hedge fund members. I mean, it's still like, even if it delays, it's still going to impact the price, right, Mohammed? Like and it's also OCC, so this has to do with like the options, not the stock. But I mean, ultimately, that price is still going to affect volatility in the market. Like that action is just still going to create volatility in the market. I think it just gives them a way to pack the debt away, primarily, which I kind of expected anyway. Like they weren't just going to let the market eat that kind of loss, right? I don't think it's bad for us though. Oh, dump your dailies. But there's so many people a user that like can only follow the daily. And that would kind of suck. I don't know. It's still something I got to figure out. Just abandon Reddit and YouTube, go all in on Twitch. Oh, interesting, Natty. But I don't even know when that came up. That's cool though. I feel bad for the bag holders and the misled. Yeah, I feel like people have tried Cool Daddy. Uh, Shit, not even that long ago. I think there was one on like Seeking Alpha that was fantastic. Like we're just a really well written bear case for AMC, and you know, they're not going to pay attention to it. It's just going to be like bashed as FUD and thrown out the window because nobody wants to admit that like they've fucked up, right? So yeah, I think it'd be really hard to like even if you did write a bear case DD for AMC, I don't think it would get any traction. Would CB time to do the upcoming week DD as videos? Ask someone to transcribe it for a Reddit post. Maybe, I don't know. Get an intern. Seriously. I'll direct to my limited energy elsewhere. Yeah, that's I mean, you can't save bag holders. We're gonna see more about your thoughts on AMC versus GMA. I mean, I've said it 1,000 times in my stream, Melly Duck. What strategy would you advise for your bros during MOAS? They can't get into pre-aftermarket. Should I get into GME 2C to be pre-mark time and pray for after hours? Yeah, you could, yeah. You can play both sides of it. We'll intern for financial advice. I'm not doing that. It's just it's tough because like weekdays, right? It's usually I wake up and then I'm answering Epic Pen is just dead. I'm like answering questions for about an hour before the stream and writing the daily post and you know checking out the pre-market and analyzing that and checking the technical indicators of the day and everything. And I would do that for the stream anyway, but then I got to write a post about it, get the stream started, go live, and then I'm on air for 7 hours, and then the stream ends, and I have just an insurmountable amount. My inbox on Reddit is got like 1,000 messages I haven't read at this point that I'm still trying to get to and answer people's questions on my DD and stuff like that. And then, also the Discord's getting bigger too. And so it's like I'm trying to, and obviously I want to prioritize that above Reddit posts that are mostly just calling me a FUD shill. And so like trying to get through all of that and then still do like the research that I need to do every week into like what's going on with the stock itself. It's tough. And then uploading videos, and then I suck at editing, so that if I try to edit a video, it takes hours of my time. And then on the weekend, I've got this stream, and then maybe 8 hours off on a Saturday. But even then, I'm still answering questions and stuff. And then Sunday comes along, and I've got the weekly DD, which takes a lot of time to do. And then I've got the video and I feel like doing the stream for the weekly DD actually saves me a bunch of time versus trying to record and edit it. So that's why I've been kind of moving towards doing the stream on Sunday, where I just go over the DD and then answer a few questions, because I think that might reduce the number of questions that I get overall. As most of the questions that I answer are pretty common, as you guys know, like, and repetitive. Oh, awesome, Agent Scarn. I will. I just wonder if I had anything specific to recommend. Maybe some of my earlier members' streams. They're time stamped, Melly Duck, so you should be able to find like AMC stuff in there. I've gotten tired at this point of like talking about the bear case for AMC. Um, but I used to go on about it quite a bit more. If Ginger Balls is right about tomorrow's, sounds like you need a live-in assistant. No. Yeah, I know, us Canadian. Weekdays, anytime during the weekends. All right, cool, Daddy. I'll let you know, man. Shorting is pumping out synthetics. Thank you, by the way. 10 million volume requirement for FTDs. Could they accomplish that by shorting us, pumping out synthetics? Is it still being done with married puts? I mean, yeah, they could do that. It's expensive, though. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, they need the volume either way. So, either they get it or they don't. But yeah, they can try to use synthetics. It's just harder. Can you look at mRNA? See where a good point of entry might be. Yeah, sure. Are you trying to play like the new news on Pfizer? Hmm. All right, so you could try to play a bounce off this resistance at 420 if it continues to come down. This stock has a lot of interest and it's a bio stock. So if news comes out that's going to affect it greatly, it's going to bounce and hard, and it may do that at market open. So there's some risk in this entry here. If it comes below 420 though, I think you have a lot more room to the downside to move in on it. You've got this support here at 369 and another one here at like 400. Yeah, it's about 400. So if it drops below this 420, I would be patient and wait. Because a dip below 400 could mean like a massive drop to like around 375 ish probably. So there's a super good entry here if it continues to drop. If positive news comes out though, it's just going to go parabolic again. So be wary of that. But 420 looks like a good entry. Like if I was gonna set it and forget it, I would be looking at 420. Possibly put on the threshold list, yeah, damage reduction. But I don't know how often that's reported, or when it's reported. Some of that is like when they say, okay, this is on the threshold list. I'm still unsure of exactly the time frame in which that occurs. But it could be the thing that puts us there. And then that may have happened back in January. I just don't know because I don't have that data from back then. We weren't tracking that back then. Um, yeah, no problem, Melly Duck. When's the next best opportunity by the dip? You got me feeling more FOMO with your 5x flex. Um, I mean, like, I rolled what was a relatively small position in GameStop back in November into a much larger position in February, right? Because I had options that went very, very deep into the money. Um, so, but don't feel like bad about the number of shares anybody else has, right? Um, and that it's much harder for me to watch the ticker every day, I think, than if I'd had like, XX shares. Every dollar change is impactful. Um, but it looks like the next week or so is gonna be I think after like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, the next like 10 trading days, I don't see anything really significant happening. I would say 8 to be on the safe side. In case they start to cover that FTD cycle early, which they've done in the past, like a day or two early, the stock will start bouncing um, before the volume really picks up. But yeah, it looks like the next like week or so we'll see some dips, probably sideways trading, which they'll short. Um, so we may see 180, and we may see a little below that if the market breaks down. So I mean, if you're trying to buy a dip, be patient. One will come. I like the term divorce puts. You would. How could we help you more? I mean, that's not really your guys' position, right, Johnny? I'll let anybody know if I need more help. It's just a lot on my plate with the addition of other shit. It wasn't a problem previously, but with moving and everything, it's a lot, right? But I'm 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 managing. I'm pretty good with organizing my time. As long as I don't get caught up in too many like 3-hour arguments on Reddit with trolls, then I should be more efficient. But I can't promise I won't do that. Novavax? Similar movement. This might be at its support already. 248. Just remember anything right now. Be aware of the market movement. Moderna, Novavax, any of these. Be aware of the effect the market can have on this. If the market dips, those buy opportunities can come in much lower. All right, so you've got some resistance here at what is that? I need to zoom in more. It looks like there's some support at 147 that it could bounce off of. Like right around this area where it's trading a little bit above that, but not much. Just below 250, right where the options are. And that looks like there's another lower, like if you see decrease or if you see a drop in the market, you could see it even trend down as low as like 240. If the market really drops, maybe 225 would be a solid place to look for an entry. 225 or 2 actually. I'd say if we see the market come down, maybe 230-ish. Not that long ago, this was down in the 180s though. Yeah, a market drop at this point would be probably a great place to get an entry, but right now it looks like your low support's at around 230, uh mid 240, and high is right around where it's trading now, around like just below 250. So I mean, watch it if you're expecting similar news as Moderna. I don't like bio stocks. I'll reiterate that. They can just go up on no notice and they can sell off hard after that rip. Generally, people that are holding them have held them a long time. So, and it's just coming down off of a fail of this resistance. So this downward momentum could accelerate. Be patient with your entry on bio stuff. There can be a lot of money made there, but you can also lose a lot. You lose far more than you make. I think there's an AMC rant video. I bet we don't see 10 million volume tomorrow. We might not. No problem, Don. Well, look at INDI. Okay, 26% short interest doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean it's gonna like run or anything significant. There was a nice volume spike here, but it looks like it's already breaking out, which means you kind of missed the opportunity for entry here, unless you're already in on it. I guess you could try to play a new high, like a new all-time high. It doesn't have a lot of history either. Only back to June. So, although it's not super volatile. Yeah, I mean, this is pivotal, right? This is crossing over the point at which like insiders got out. So if it breaks to the upside, it could have some pretty momentous movement. And yeah, that 1155 resistance is where you're going to want to look for that. But the SI, I wouldn't. It's not like it's. I don't think it's going to squeeze. It's kind of way too new to have like a significantly built up short position. So that short position is probably pretty flexible, Dan. Dilselmeyer. Thoughts on November 800C? I mean, it's a volatility play, so you got to be prepared to move and watch it. If it spikes to like 350 or 300, and we come back down, that money will be, like the money made on those calls will be gone by the time you hit like 325. So you got to be prepared to move in a very narrow window on those really far out of the money calls. They always find a way, so I doubt we see the 10 million volume. I mean, T plus 69 has been true in all of the back testing we've done on it so far. So, we'll see. And I'm pretty sure Dr. Gingerball's tested it like back into last year. It just doesn't mean we're going up, however, right? That 10 million volume could be synthetic shorts. I'm really looking forward to the upcoming pickle picks. Would you talk about process for coming up with these picks? No. But I do encourage you to try to figure out why I picked them. And see if you can kind of come up with your own thesis on, the pick that I have presented you. As always, you should do your research on any position that you think about, even paper trading. Like you should be digging into the whys and not just taking someone's word for it, right? Otherwise, we could all just read Motley Fool and make all their plays. I might miss this when I sign up for MOS. I'll sign off for MOS. I don't know. It'll be hard. I wipe my tears away with $100 bills and remember you all fondly. If you ever want a 3-hour argument with a non-troll, I mean, I will, JC. I don't have a Moas sign-off song. Don't feed the trolls, they'll keep coming back. It's true. They just want attention most of the time. I'm getting better at that. Just ignoring it. But sometimes, like, the shit they say is so... counterintuitive to what I've written, or in complete ignorance of everything I've done all this time, that I get pretty pissed. Bruce's Last Resistance is kind of in a no man's land. I wouldn't play it then. Yeah, doesn't it have a previous? It has a previous. It has previous highs and supports up here. It may continue to run. Negative market action will impact it. There's some previous resistance at 780. I remember that being difficult to cross in the past. I think it was back here. So it's not in a no man's land historically, but it is in an uptrend, and so there is a chance for a breakdown. Tesla is very unpredictable, and I don't like to play long plays on it. It's like a stock that you need some experience with. As it can be very risky. So it looks like it's deviated from its like longer term trend a little bit, which means it's picking up volatility. I would be watching 780 very carefully. It could turn around, and if it does turn around at 780, it could turn around really hard. Maybe even like back down to 750, maybe below. The last time it failed the 780 test, it dropped all the way back down to 600. So this is like, if anything, a little bit of over exuberance, I would say. Especially the last like 3 trading days, and if you look at the volume coming in on it, this is definitely due to the bounce back in the SPY, and probably the removal of some of the Chinese contenders from the market are freeing up a little like headroom. But if it breaks 780, there's a good chance it'll test 800 and maybe even push up. Are you on Top Chat? I don't think so. Maybe. Yeah, I think I might have been. Hold on. Okay, that should fix it. If I didn't get to your question, get it to me again, and I'll try to. Sorry. But I held too long when green. Find it hard to sell when I'm red. Any tips on dealing with the sunken cost fallacy? Okay, well, first of all, go into every options play, assuming that you've basically lost, especially if it's short term, that you've lost your buy-in, like 100% of it, right? This is the cost for entry, essentially. It helps to have multiple contracts, and I usually buy my contracts in sets of like 2 or 4 or 6 or 8, 10, because when I'm up a little, right, I can sell and then follow the trend with the rest of my contracts, depending on which way it goes. So, if I'm up and my play has exhausted itself and I've made the money, at least the minimum amount of money I plan to make, I will sell like half of my contracts here, right? And then you can ride the trend with the rest. But usually if the trend moves too far away from me, like within a quarter range of that, I will sell out the rest of it. So I don't leave a lot of room open to the opposing side after I've moved out of that initial part of the position. But if the trend continues up, I'll follow it as long as I can, right? But having like one contract, that makes it very difficult, but you know, try to avoid that if you can. Because it'll help you with, you know, over holding. And then also at the same time, don't be afraid to take a loss. If you see it moving against you and you're down 20%, get out. You can always buy back in, right? What are the top 3 things you look for when picking a play? Volume, volatility, and long-term technical trends. And then I'll dig into it more if I see those. You mentioned you don't care for ETFs, but the REITs are a solid play. I was looking into them, and OHI seems pretty good. Do you have any thoughts on that one, or REITs in general? So REITs come with a weird tax thing, and if the real estate market goes down, they stay down for a really long time. So there's opportunities to buy them that are really good. And then outside of that, like investing in them over and over and over again, I feel like has diminishing returns. I think buying them on the dip is very profitable, and then just holding them basically forever. Um, I've never bought into OHI or done any research on it. The only one I own is O, and I got it at a pretty decent price, and so I like them in the sense that I would rather have REITs than lots of like actual real estate holdings, because I don't want to manage real estate. I think it's not a great investment. It's okay, but I feel like there's better investments to be found than owning real estate, but it gives you some exposure to real estate without actually owning any or having to manage any of it. I'm gonna paper trade and vaccine it. Okay. Remember Moonwind fondly. I was on Top Chat. I fixed that. Moas sign us off the utter silence of a cutoff stream. How can I tell when the SPY has hit its bottom and started to correct post Moas? Right, if Moas and the market crash coincide, you can watch the long-term moving averages for an indication of when it's starting to come back up, which is, you know, a buy signal. So you can wait as long as a golden cross, but I would generally try to buy in before it happens. Mm, yeah, I know, JC. Are Pickles picks more geared for people who play options? No, because you can always take less risk by just buying stock, Netog, in any of them, right? I think retail is more geared towards options because you get leverage with a small amount of capital. But if you have a lot of capital, like stock, like buying the stock is always safer than holding options, right? Because you don't pay for theta anymore. And I've been doing options because I don't really have a lot of time in the day to like trade individual shares. I think actually the other day I bought into something, Naked Brands, I think, and I bought shares. I mean, they had options, but also if you don't think something's generally the picks I post are things where I think they're going to have significant movement, right? If I think something's not going to have significant movement, I'm going to buy the stock. But, for retail, that could be hard. Buying like 500 shares of Apple is not cheap. Whereas buying 5 options contracts can be. Or it can be cheaper. So it's really the opportunity cost, I guess. What's the deal with stocks like Ader jumping pre-market every day last week? Probably shorts covering in the pre-market or trying to. Isn't that one of the D-SPACs? There's actually one I'm looking at for this coming week, but I'm still thinking about it. Those are super high risk. Like INTR was the other one, or another one of those. Basically, they're just like easy to lock up the float in with enough gamma exposure. Explain how buy versus sell pressure will look once people start closing their positions. I mean, buy pressure is going to stay significantly higher than any sell pressure that's going to occur during forced liquidation. Protege. I don't think you're going to see very many red candles on the way up. Maybe after a halt you'll see some, but then it'll just keep going up. And you can always use that opportunity to set up like a less risky limit sell just to make sure that it doesn't move against you. Determining your percentages for your exits is going to very much determine how aggressive your strategy is going to be in the end, right? And so like on the way up, if you're unsure, you can always like have like 2% stop limits, like 2% of your position in a stop limit. And if you're afraid it's going to like continue down, like if a red candle forms after a halt, if you're afraid it's going to continue down, you can set something out of range so you have a little bit of protection there. And then it's likely during forced liquidation it's going to continue up, right? But you can protect yourself from the downside of that. But I don't think we're going to see like, maybe at psychological resistances like 1,000, 10,000, you might see some dip after from the sell pressure. So you may see like a few candles of red before it bounces. But again, like that's what your highest volatility is going to be post halt, right? And then it's gonna level out before it bounces. But that's a wedge, right? Super hard to cut losses, just as hard as it is to close gains. You got to get used to it. You got to be happy with the money you get and not the money you could have had. I mean, you only need to like, if you're risk adverse, right? And you set your stop limit and it's strict across your trades. You only need to win like 1 out of 10 trades to be net positive, right? And if you can beat that, if you can do better, if you can beat 1 out of 5 or 1 out of 3, then you're going to make far more money over time than someone who's half that. But the only way to really lose money is by, not taking advantage of your risk management. If you manage your risk properly, you don't lose money. That's the point. Is it's all about managing your risk and not about how much money you make. The money will come. The risk management has to be strict. Not necessarily Mike Nolan. We need 10 million volume tomorrow. That does not indicate what direction it'll go in. TTM looks promising, but thinking of buying Monday. Ugh. What makes you think it's due for a bounce? The volume is solid, but it just trades flat. I don't see any like historic upside potential besides, just right after it got listed. This looks terrible. Consistent lower and lower trend for, the last, Jesus, like 4 months, 5 months. I don't see anything here unless you have some sort of news that you expect to make it run. Because this stock looks like it's going to be flat and probably flattened down for a really long time. And it looks like if it ran, it just got rejected at 978. STC has been getting a lot of time. People say it's way undervalued, shorted, etc. Looks to me like it just has a downtrend with the spike bounces. Been selling calls on it. Thoughts? I mean, some of these plays, there's another side of them, right? These like Wall Street bets, shit. Like, you can just buy puts and let them pump it or not pump it and see where it goes, right? Instead of, chasing the long side, you can just follow up with the short side. Because one thing that's true about all of those plays is that they just end up collapsing in the end. Smile direct. I mean, it's on a resistance right now. If it doesn't bounce, it's probably going to sink. I don't know how profitable this is as a business or even long term. Like, ran up into the 20th. Yeah, no problem, my good bean. Thank you guys for tuning in. That are heading out. We still got a few more minutes. Very good tracker. I just don't know how much money there is in it. Do they have a confirmed acquisition partner? It looks like it's starting to be shorted, honestly, within the last like month or so. So maybe the short positions are kind of picking up on it. Having good management and, a good track record doesn't necessarily mean a company will be successful. And when you're just looking at the stock, like, you need interest, and it doesn't seem to have a lot of that except maybe to the downside. It could be enough to get new people interested, Bob, or old people re-interested. Why don't you enjoy trading crypto? It's not good for my already terrible sleep habits. Because I'd wake up at like 2 in the morning, see an entry on Bitcoin, and then I'd be trading until like 7 p.m. the next day. And that's just, I made a lot of money doing it, but it's toxic. Also, sentiment's hard to read in crypto markets, which I don't like. It's either super bullish or just all over the place. After the squeeze, when we're all rich, will we also be able to crime without consequence? I don't know. Yeah, I mean, Vince, if that's something you're interested in, I mean, you got to consider there could be a very long wait before you see that turn around in any kind of positive way. Are you going to schedule your streams for this week for the algo? Yeah, I already scheduled my stream for tomorrow, today, and then tomorrow I will schedule it for the next day and so on and so forth. Hopefully that improves that side of it. Evergrande plus debt ceiling stuff. The SPY could. We'll see what happens. I'll be watching the Chinese market tonight really closely to see what happens. Damage reduction. If they start to bounce, then I could see the market running into tomorrow. I mean, basically, whatever happens on the Chinese market, we'll see some of that mirrored in the SPY tomorrow. Yeah, I'd definitely do a lot more research because right now it doesn't look good for the near or long term. Just from a technical standpoint, though, I don't know anything about the company itself. Thoughts on an OMI chart? Was 3-month cup and handle breakout, new floor at 0.005. OMI. I mean, it's found a floor there. If it can hold, I mean, you're going to want to look for it to move back up to like 5.6, 5.7. I guess you're really trying to play that breakout at 0.60, but yeah, you can see how strong the bounce is. It looks good for a move, actually. Pirate Angel. Like I would have probably bought a couple days ago. Maybe on this, trying to have gotten that low or at least the confirmed bounce off of that low. But yeah, it looks like there's still opportunity to get in and see some decent upside. But be prepared to be out. Your risk is at 5.56, 0.566. So if it gets rejected there, you're going to want to be out of it. Would you expect the market to start pricing in the default of Evergrande that may be occurring in the next 4 weeks now? Yeah, I think it probably has priced in some of that in its latest correction that happened during the supplemental liquidity deposits. But we'll see. We'll see more pricing of it, and as we see more failings in the Chinese market. So I think we're gonna have like kind of a flat bearish trend on the SPY unless it starts to regain a lot of ground out of nowhere, which could happen if the infrastructure bill goes through. You're getting good at your new career. What career is that, JC? With you pointing in the corner helps the algo as well. Ew. Sorry to go crypto on you. It's fine, man. That's violent upside potential this week. Are we still taking a rain check till the 13th? 12th? The 11th, 12th, and 13th could all see some action as we lead into that T plus 35. That first T plus 35 window, right? But yeah, that's where I'm looking for any kind of significant movement. Finance news reporter. Oh. Would you make a Discord channel for us EU apes, especially on regulations? There are a lot of misconceptions, a lack of information on what we can't do on American markets. Yeah, absolutely. If you guys want a forum, especially, I kind of wanted to create that anyway, so you guys would have a forum to discuss your brokerages and your order types and shit like that, because it's way different than what we deal with here. But yeah, I'll set that up for you guys today. Except that you're a professional finance infotainment streamer, make those business cards. It still doesn't pay more than my day job, JC. If that ever happens, I'll let you know. Yeah, not a problem. I feel like you guys got kind of get ignored everywhere. We need a super yacht thread. I already made one of those today. The Postimo ass shopping spree. No one even noticed. Unbelievable. How else am I supposed to harvest data for my luxury item unboxing channel? Come on. I would love to watch a vid on managing my risk with options plays. Maybe a good idea for a vid for you. Okay, I mean, like a lot of that I'm gonna have to do after I move damage reduction, because like I need a setup where I can record at any time, and for me to like really start producing content, I need to have like all of that set up, because my current situation, like after I'm done streaming, I have to break all this down and like move it around so I have space in my house to do other things. And so hopefully after I move, I'll have space to, just leave this all set up, and that'll definitely get me more at least put me in a better position to start, creating more content on other fronts. Wait, you had to go get a day job? I mean, I still trade stocks, Flaccid. That's because you're not shilling the merch or mental health benefits of Pigeonwell flexes enough. I mean, the mental health benefits of Pigeonwell flexing are obvious to everyone. I only get ignored during your proper streams. I try to get to everybody, but if it's not super relevant, I'm gonna probably glance over it. Also, I constantly forget to put it in top chat. I'm trying to get better about like curating the things I respond to in the streams, because they have gotten like even in the last like 3 weeks, we have 400 or 500 more people every day than we used to. And it's getting tough to keep up with the chat. I'm trying. Thanks, Ecstasy. Yeah, no problem, damage reduction. All right. I guess are we all done? Was there any last minute questions from anybody that I can answer before I start doing all the DD for today? Two months of pickles, how time flies. Thanks, Pat B. Awesome windmill. I'm glad you're enjoying your sports ball. Moas tomorrow? Unlikely. Have a good night, Johnny. Have you noticed more shilling? I mean, more new people, right? I mean, a lot of you guys are all like kind of indoctrinated into my way of thinking and my kind of overall negative sentiment to new news and bullshit. But newer people, you know, they're not. They're used to super stonk where everything's important and every idea is a good one. And so when they come over here, I think there's a bit of a shift in the mentality there. And so we get a little bit of backlash and negativity. But, you know, along the way, we pick up new people who kind of think the way we do, in a sense, I suppose. Um, and so that's cool. But yeah, you're gonna see that as more people tune in, I suppose. Fully indoctrinated, not a cult. Exactly. I didn't say spy down. I said I'm gonna watch the Chinese markets tonight, Greg. Thanks, Alethea. Yeah, I know. That's gonna be tricky, JC. Yeah, and I don't have a problem with chills or new people coming in here and having shit to say, right? Because it either lets me defend my position or it gives me an outlook onto where I might be wrong. And so it's good to have that influx of, you know, sentiment that we might not agree with. It keeps it from being an echo chamber in here, and I think it allows us to progress faster and better. Creating a bear army. Late night China stream? No, but I'm gonna do the video DD stream tonight also, so that'll be later. Don't attack people for having a different idea than you. If you can't discuss it rationally, walk away from the conversation. All right, thank you guys all so much. No Kool-Aid. I will see you all probably tonight for most of you, and the rest of you I'll see you in the morning. Have a good one, guys. Oh, one last thing. Sorry. Before I shut this down, um, I don't know if some of you know this or not, but one of our longtime members, Johnny Diamond Hands, father passed away from complications due to COVID this week. And it was really sad. And I wanted to kind of give a shout out to him and his family as they're dealing with this, uh, you know, in their personal lives, and, you know, just take a moment of kind of silence uh, for one of our pigeon whales losing a loved one. And Johnny, if you ever need to reach out to any of us, I figured I'd do that in here with like our members instead of just the public. You know, feel free. We're all here to talk to you, man. And good luck with everything. All right. Thank you guys, and I'll see you later.